Good afternoon and good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Dubai. A thrilling game upon us here in the Open Division as Team USA gets ready to battle Team Canada. It is a scorcher of a Tuesday afternoon here on the beach at the 2015 Beach Championships of Ultimate. We welcome you to our broadcast site. I'm Evan Lepler, joined by two of the great voices of Ultimate, Brian Jones and Megan Tormey. And guys, the story, Team USA comes in as the favorite. Team Canada, a worthy contender. Both teams are undefeated heading into this game, but Team Canada has had three very tight victories. So let's start, Brian, with Team USA. What have been your expectations for the team, and how has their performance met them?
It's met every expectation. A talented team coming in. You expect them to come away with these victories. Maybe I expected them to have a little bit more issue with chemistry and have some closer matchups, but so far the talent has taken them through. They're going to continue to get better as a team and be dangerous to deal with throughout this tournament.
Megan, your thoughts on what this Team USA team has done so far?
Well, I've just been impressed, as Brian has been, with their ability to generate chemistry very, very quickly. I anticipated that they would be good defensively. It's a little bit easier to gel as a team when you're playing a man-style defense. Doesn't typically require as much communication, but the way this team has worked together on offense so far bodes very dangerously for all the other teams here.
And Team Canada, certainly a worthy adversary. Victories over Kenya, Russia, France, and Australia, but the last three of those all on Universe Point. Two of the three, Team Canada started the Universe Point on defense and had to break to stay undefeated. The games against Russia and Australia required game-ending breaks. So this Team Canadian squad, certainly a lot of talent, but Brian, how do you handicap this matchup?
Well, it's tough if you're Team Canada. They talked a little bit. We had to talk with Alex Davis, one of the leaders of the team, and he said it's not assured that we have a spot at the podium at this tournament. We have to have an underdog mentality. And he said it was almost a good thing that they've had to go through those trials early on so that way they can rise together as a team. They come into this game, historically they know this matchup. They know USA. They know what it means. If they can just focus inwards on themselves, they'll have a successful game.
Going to be fascinating to watch this unfold. Two of the top teams in the world, both from North America, meeting on the shores of the Persian Gulf. And we are underway. Team USA receiving the disc. Mario O'Brien and Alan Kolick, the two primary handlers, out there with Jack Marsh. Downfield cutting Asa Wilson. And immediately a foul called. Tyler DiGirolamo, the other American cutter, out there on this opening point. How physical do you guys expect this game to be?
I think it's going to be incredibly so. These two teams know each other very well. They're not too worried about stepping on toes or hurting feelings. They're in there. They're in here to win it. So they're going to be playing neck and neck, shoulder to shoulder the entire time.
Expect to be very physical to the point where there's going to be some chippiness later on in this game. Early on, both teams are going to expect it. It's going to take one foul call to kind of erupt the contentiousness that we've seen out of these two teams. One of the things that you see here is Alan Kolick, and maybe not known to the rest of North America, but or even the world, he's a lefty, very dangerous handler in the backfield, and he's paired with Mario O'Brien. O'Brien is more of a conservative type handler. Kolick is great at the give and goes, and this is something they'll want to exploit all game long.
I think that's very characteristic of USA's offense. They have a good mixture of conservative handlers as well as more dynamic throwers who are willing to be creative in the way that they throw. Nothing terribly creative here, just the original bad boy of Ultimate, Jack Marsh, throwing one in early for a score.
He's known for his fiery temperament. He can really get a team going. It's great to see. I know firsthand, being the coach of Pony, he's just quite the fire starter and quite the emotional leader.
So now we see the Team Canada offense led by one of the captains, Andrew Lugsden, big number 9. He is a behemoth on the ultimate field, and eligible to play Grandmasters, yet still on the Canadian Open team. Meanwhile, Team USA and Brett Matsuka getting ready to pull. You see who's on the line for Canada.
Luxon has such a reputation, especially in Canadian Ultimate. And back in 2012, they thought Canada was so close to dethroning the USA in the semifinals, and they just thought that maybe the only thing they needed was a call from Luxon to just yell at everybody and to fire them up like the old days.
Luxton with a disc to Lindquist. And up the line further, Brendan Wong. Goose Helton puts on the mark. But the swing for Antoine Genet, and to the end zone, Canada strikes back in a hurry. Brendan Wong scores the goal, and we're even at 1.
Genet was the leading assist maker in the game against Australia, and we're seeing some fairly standard offense from Canada early in this game. They like to put up a nice quick dishy pass, often breaking to the break side, and that helps open things up for them. I really think this particular game is going to be won on defense for different reasons. Both these teams have a very dynamic offense. It's going to come down to which team is able to stymie a very smooth offense better.
And when you see for Canada, one of the things that they're going to have happen is they have this combination of East versus West styles. And from the West, you see a lot of physicality on defense. And from the East, you'll see more creative play out of Jeff Lindquist with scoobers and hammers. It's always interesting to see how that comes together on these Canadian teams, which one has the more dominant play style that ends up becoming the actual true identity of this national squad.
Gord Harrison unleashes the backhand pull. Kinley and O'Brien, a couple sockeye teammates among the handlers. Looking for DiGirolamo. Remy Ojo defending, and Tyler DiGirolamo makes the play in the end zone for USA.
And Remy Ojo is a fantastic athletic defender, but against Tyler DiGirolamo, who's one of the best players in the U.S. currently, one of the young prime players, you're not going to win that battle too often.
That is going to be a fun matchup to watch this entire game. I was so impressed watching Remy in the Australia game. It was like he was on grass while everyone else was on sand. That's the kind of quickness that he has. But you're right, DiGirolamo is an almost unstoppable downfield force. When you partner those two together, I think we're going to see some really fun play this game.
Obviously, these are teams of all-stars, but Tyler DiGirolamo may be a step above. Is he the #1 guy for Team USA, and who's that guy for Canada? Do they have that alpha dog in the right moment?
Tyler DiGirolamo may be the #1 guy, but we talked a little bit with Jonathan Helton, known as Goose, before the game, and part of the mantra on Team USA is that they don't need anybody to be the guy, and so you won't necessarily see it even if DiGirolamo may be the most physically imposing specimen on the field. As we look at Team Canada, we're going to see who comes out of it. You have Luxon as an older generation player. You have Lindquist, who was once one of the dominant guys for Canada. It's still kind of a ruling by committee.
Antoine Genet. Lindquist lets it fly, deep shot. Wong seeking his second score, and he makes the play in the end zone. Jack Hatchett did everything he could, but could not get there in time.
Surprising to see Hatchett actually close that gap. And you thought for a second that once he got there, it was almost an assured D, because lately he's been burning up the scene in Worlds last year with Ironside, Nationals in general. He usually takes the toughest matchup on the field.
So we're tied at 2, just over 6 minutes in, a 45-minute soft cap on this game, halftime at 7. And we're playing to 13. If you're just waking up on the East Coast of the United States, we appreciate you joining us, or on the East Coast of Canada for that matter. Evan Lepler with Brian Jones and Megan Tormey. It is a thrill to be here in the Middle East. Dubai, the site of the 4th ever Beach World Championships. After Brazil and Portugal and Italy in 2011, here we are. And the tournament continues through Friday. Alan Kolick, the handler, hits Jared Inselman. And now Jack Marsh for DiGirolamo. And a foul called as the aggressive mark put on by Seb Toth. We asked Canada captain Alex Davis before the game, what are the most important things you're thinking of? He said one of the big keys is intimidating marks and not allowing their give-and-go offense to be successful. And the first turnover of the game is stemmed by the D in the end zone. Canada's Jan Gorski makes the play.
Gorski, one of the replacements actually coming in for players like Anatoly Vasilyev, who couldn't make it as a result of trip to Russia.
Rumi Tejpar goes up line for Gorski. And Canada makes the play, losing the hat and the sunglasses in the process. But Canada takes a 3-2 lead as Seb Toth hauls it in.
As this game unfolds, these are going to be the key difference makers. We know the United States did miss the opportunity to score on that point in their own end zone. It's going to be that close, inches from either making the play or not making the play, that's going to, in the end, award the win to one of these countries.
And the fireworks just got started too. Jack Marsh, that's such a intense play, and you see the smiles afterwards. These teams have some mutual respect for each other, which is great to see at the start of this tournament. You're on the sand, you're in Dubai, you're playing high-level competitive ultimate. It's just incredible to be part of.
Team USA and Team Canada are not the top two seeds in the open division. 16 countries entering the tournament in the open division. USA, the 1 seed. The Philippines, the Boracay Dragons, the 2 seed with Great Britain, who we saw a couple hours ago, taking care of business in the second half against Japan. The Brits are seeded 3rd coming in, and Canada 4th, already with wins over Australia and France, the 2 teams seated immediately behind them in Pool A. And as we discussed earlier, in the open division, everybody makes it into bracket play. A 16-team elimination bracket will be formed, and all 16 teams will play in the pre-quarters starting in a couple days. This is the 3rd game of the day for both of these teams, though, and the hot sun is to be baking them a good bit. Inselman, marked by Henry. DiGirolamo picked up by Ojo, and now O'Brien guarded by Alex Davis. Underneath, right on the money for Alan Kolek. The crafty lefty back to DiGirolamo.
Alex Davis talked about intimidating via the mark, but they're still trying to do it. But as we can see, there's almost no wind on the field right now, so it's not going to be as easy to force USA into a turnover.
Yeah, the wind has been fluctuating throughout the day. Some really steady gusts, and right now fairly calm. Team USA looking for the equalizer, and the high release backhand from Kolek hits DiGirolamo his 2nd score.
Those are the kinds of throws you can put with confidence, knowing that DiGirolamo is on the receiving end.
The catch looks great, and then I go back to Alan Kolek, who's just one of the more creative throwers in the game today, has the advantage of being a lefty. A lot of his puts are spot on.
DiGirolamo, of course, one of the backbones of the back-to-back championship teams at Pittsburgh. Played in the AUDL last year for the DC Breeze. He'll play for the Pittsburgh Thunderbirds, the expansion team in the Midwest Division, going up against that guy, Jonathan Goose Helton, one of the leaders of the Chicago Wildfire. Brian, you've seen Tyler DiGirolamo play for a long time. At what point did he elevate himself into that top-tier conversation? Was it his first college championship, or was it some point after that?
It was immediately after that first college championship when he's on the Next Gen Tour. And he had one quite summer of it was just incredible, the plays, the people he was making plays against, all club teams across the nation, and he took everybody by storm, and from them he's been one of those names that's just hyped up to be one of the best players in the world.
Looking for Wong, and he makes the play again. Brendan Wong, as Teddy Brower-Jarris's layout just fell short. These
Wong
teams are not afraid to air it out here.
No, absolutely not. Wong is one of the favored targets for the Canadian team. In the game against Australia, he scored 5 of the 12 goals that Canada put up. Clearly very difficult to defend. We've seen last-ditch efforts from people on the United States, just not quite enough to take the disc from Wong's hands.
Brendan Wong is one of those all-around players. It's not surprising that he kind of has a nose for the end zone after watching him for a lot of years. Usually you'll find him defending a handler. Sometimes he'll be back as a handler himself. But he's just one of those players that are so tough to guard. You talk like a guy like Joel Schlackett, guy on Revolver, who a lot of people go, has such great ultimate IQ that he can go in and out of it. No matter what it's going to be, going to deep game, coming back as a handler, you don't know what he's going to do.
And when you look at a guy like Joel Schlackett, no offense, but you don't think he's Bo Kittredge or Tyler DiGirolamo. You don't expect him to be an imposing force, and yet you can't stop him. Joel's probably fast asleep right now in the Bay Area.
So you're safe to say such things.
Kinley receives the center disc. What is up with Tyler Kinley's hairdo, guys?
I think he's going for Cupid doll.
I'll take your word for it.
Not my area of expertise, Evan.
Kinley to O'Brien. Hammer. And USA has evened it up 4-all. Asa Wilson.
All he does is
from
score
Atlanta.
touchdowns.
Yes, he does. So it's 4-4. Both of these teams are 4-0. I think both of these teams expect to be in the semis and perhaps the finals later this week. How much of a factor do you think it is? You know, I'm not sure whose advantage it would be, but playing, you know, this third game of the day, late afternoon, under the hot sun, as hot as it has been all day long here in Dubai.
Oh, without a doubt, that's playing a factor, but of course it's a factor that's impacting both teams equally. I do think USA has a little bit of an advantage. They had a slightly easier day so far. Again, Canada coming off of a very tough win against Australia. The final score there was 12-11. Compare that to the game the United States had at noon, 13-4 against Kenya.
Hatchett gets the D on that deep shot from Lugsden. And now USA looking to break back. Frank Devin Barrett for Brett Matsuka. One of the captains of this team who helped select it. Brower Jarris and Helton make it. Hatchett could not come down with the disc, but he may have been fouled. And Genet will send it back. So it appears Antoine Genet contesting Hatchett's foul call. Consequently, it goes back to the thrower. No observers, no referees. It is completely 100% self-officiated, even at the highest level. And Poole unable to come down with that disc. Canada, the quick counter to Lugsden. Just when it looked like USA was going to bring us back on serve, Canada stays up a break on a quick counterattack.
This could be dangerous for USA. Canada will just kind of grow in strength the more they're in the game, the closer they are to victory, and they'll have the energy pick them up. Megan, you talked about earlier how they had some close games. They survived some universe point losses. Canada is mentally battle-tested. If you give them an opportunity to pull away at the end, most of the time they're going to take it.
Yeah, they have had that opportunity to kind of taste what that's like. The United States, not nearly as much, although a lot of the players on the United States team have, in other facets, experienced those kind of high-intensity situations. But of course, everything's different on the beach. Talking with Alex Davis before the game from Team Canada, he said, we're still students of the game on the beach. The beach, the sand, changing so many things in the game, and obviously both teams have to adjust to that. But you can be battle tested on grass, and somehow it's going to be just a little bit different in the beach setting.
Bit of a junky defense here from Team Canada.
Really coming in soft and just letting the U.S. start things off, and really they want to do is prevent any type of set play from taking over. We saw DiGirolamo get active immediately but it stopped any movement and just forces the USA to slow down and think.
Kinley takes the sure thing, and O'Brien gives it right back. Foul called as Davis bumped Kinley. Two guys have matched up many times. Sockeye furious, put on their country's jerseys and go at it.
It's one of those times when you see Sockeye battle furious, you throw the results out the window because they don't really matter anymore.
Good adjustment by Marsh. That forehand was going a little bit behind him, but he recovered well. And Kinley just puts it to space, but DiGirolamo was not expecting it. And USA an uncharacteristic giveaway.
These are the issues that we knew would plague Team USA if they were going to have difficulties. It wasn't going to be defensive pressure. It wasn't going to be them making one single throw. It was going to be a miscommunication. And this is the first time I think we've seen that, and that's what Canada does with the zone. They slow things down, force USA to get out of their rhythm.
Powell. Lindquist. Gorski. Back to Powell. Kolek thought about a poach but couldn't get there.
Just too much hesitation here by the United States.
Ojo keeps the feet in bounds at 5 meters from the end zone. Canada makes a big mistake near the goal line.
This point kind of going back and forth and just waiting for one team to take hold. Canada slows things down with the zone. USA hesitates, but I don't even like the defense that USA was bringing off of the turnover until it really got close to the end zone. They didn't seem sure about what to do. There was some hesitation. A throw was going through the middle of the field, and nobody really reacted to it. I think it's time for a wake-up call if you're on Team USA.
They're talking about how quickly the Canadian offense moves earlier. I'm not surprised they seem slightly hesitant. It can be easy to assume that those players are going to move one way, but then the disc is suddenly moving the other.
Timeout called by Team USA. In the middle of a long point. This is the only timeout that they will have this game. In beach, you don't get 2 per half like you do in a USAU club tournament. 1 in a floater. No, 1 floater for the entire game, and now USA will play without a timeout, but that just magnifies the importance of this point. Not only do they have no more timeouts, but they're already down a break, trying to avoid falling down a second break, needing to go the length of the field, and the wind has picked up a little bit more, coming from the far side of the field to the near side.
I'd say it was an intelligent move for sure when you have an uncharacteristic turnover due to communication, as Brian was saying, and then immediately after that, Canada gives you the disc back. It's to your advantage to pause, recollect, and use this moment as best as possible.
We talk about only having 1 timeout, and certainly that can be risky, but USA has enough depth. They have enough minds. I think they're using this opportunity to try to just settle down, get back to get something simple. Megan, you've talked so much about this. You come out of a timeout, you get a set play going, you know exactly what's going to happen. I would expect Canada here to try to throw some junky zone to get them out of the set play once again.
Alex Davis will mark Mario O'Brien. They left Alan Kolek wide open, and he finds Jack Marsh wide open. Kinley and Inselman were both streaking deep. Now they make the undercuts. Most of these cuts, guys, coming from behind the disc. And they worked it all the way down the field that way until Kinley made the mushroom cut to the front corner.
Nobody had to be the hero in that possession for USA. You saw a lot of fakes to the end zone, and they just went for quick flips, direct passes that were not confusing whatsoever, right to the person's chest.
Yeah, nothing terribly fancy, but Brian, you called it. They took that timeout to get right back into the rhythm of things. And indeed, the cuts did come from behind the disc the entire time. It wasn't necessarily anything set, but it was something that everyone was heads up and aware, and they were able to just move the disc quickly enough that Canada couldn't settle in on their defense.
So we're even at 5. Just about halfway through this game. Certainly expect these teams to have the offenses to get to 13, but a few uncharacteristic turnovers both ways so far. Canada receiving up 1 break. The game's only break to this point. Wong marked by Hatchett. McShane comes up with the D right on the mark. Brower Jarris to Matsuka. Perfectly timed cut and attach it. USA gets the break, and we are back on serve here in the first half.
Usually these cuts to the cone are inefficient because you have to be able to outrun your defender by a large margin, but Jack Hatchett is one of the few players who's fast enough to just beat his defender purely in a foot race.
Hatchett played at Tufts. Now a key defender for Boston Ironside. 24-year-old Cutter on the D-line helps Boston and Team USA get it back to 6-5.
Recently celebrated a birthday with his own dodgeball tournament back in Boston.
That is very creative. Did he win the tournament, do you know?
Oh, of course everyone let him win. It was his birthday.
Figured he's a competitive fellow, wants a bit of a challenge. Seemed insulted by the question. There's Brett Matsuka. He's getting ready to pull. Team Canada with a lineup that includes Jan Gorski, Andrew Lugsden, along with Seb Toth, Jeff Lindquist, and Rumi Tejpar. Goose Helton looking for the D, and he got in the way of the receiver's lane just enough to force the incompletion.
That's the second time we've seen Lugsden throw something up that's been floaty and not on target.
Looking for Helton at the other end. Right on the money, Team USA has scored 2 in a row.
You can hear Team USA come alive after that, and a little bit of energy. They got the break they needed, and another one. Great throw. Also easy when you have a big target out there.
Ever since that timeout call, guys, Team USA has taken hold of this first half. You're talking about the defense that Team USA brought. How about those umbrellas that Team USA brought? Very patriotic flavor.
I mean, if you just take a look too, if we ever could get a shot of Jack Hatchett's socks, he's got Team USA sun socks out there.
There's Hatchett, number 27. You'll see the stars and stripes on his footwear. Some guys wear those socks just because the sand does get very hot.
It's not so bad when you're running, but when you're standing on the line like they are right now, at this time of day, that sand is just burning.
Tell you what, though, I got to take a swim in between our last game. Cools you right off if you jump right in. I don't know if the players have that luxury right now.
I'm sure that's the post-game strategy. There we have them, stars and stripes.
And the ocean is perhaps one Brett Matsuka scuba away from the back of the end zone. Brett known for his crafty throwing style. Part of the Johnny Bravo team that won the USAU national title this past year. Played for Ring of Fire before that.
He was also one of the central figures in the AUDL's DC Breeze. I talked to his teammate John Stone, who said sometimes it's a little terrifying because you're not exactly sure what Brett is going to throw.
Dangerous hammer to the end zone, but right on target. Antoine Genet was there.
But to finish up, Brett Mazuka immediately fired back. Well, it works, doesn't it?
I can tell you firsthand that it does. As the coach last year for the Rochester Dragons in AUDL, we tried every possible combination of force and defense against Brett Matsuka, and nothing worked. It didn't matter which way it was going. Matsuka would either beat you with a hammer or a scuba, and he would wait until stall 5 or 6 every single time, unload it, break the defense wide open.
Yeah.
Game over.
Talking earlier about the United States having good versatility between consistent handling and creative handling, I think Brett Matsuka falls right into that creative category.
There are a lot of good players in the Eastern Division last year that you had the pleasure of coaching against.
I don't know about the pleasure of coaching
Brett
against.
Matsuka, I'm sure it was a thrill of a lifetime for you. Brett Matsuka may not be considered the best player in that division, but might he have been the toughest to game plan for?
Yeah, he's an incredible matchup because there's just nobody that slows him down that much, and you're not sure. And I think that the only person that can maybe beat Brett is Brett. And so he could throw so many different things, and it's about, is he in risk-taking mode trying to take over the offense, or is he playing a complementary role? And you almost like him in that complementary role. Yeah, go ahead, play a supporting handler cast, please.
O'Brien, Kolick, DiGirolamo, Marsh, and Inselman. And this is an easy score for Team USA to go to half up 8-6.
And in case you thought DiGirolamo was a one-trick pony, he's also quite a thrower.
And perhaps the most underrated aspect of his game is the total package. Perfect float on that disc. Now, one of the nice things about Beach is there will not be a 10-minute intermission where we'll just jibber-jabber. There will be right back to the ultimate. I'm sure we would have had some extremely fascinating extemporaneous jibber-jabber, but it is Team USA getting ready to pull.
Is that the technical term?
You know, we're developing our own vocabulary one day at a time here in Dubai. Team Canada's Callum McKenzie getting ready to receive this offensive point, and basically a must score here for Canada to have any chance, wouldn't you say?
Stay in this game. It's 8-6. If you don't score here, especially with only 15 minutes to go, you're putting yourself in a situation where you can't make a mistake, and that's hard to do against a team with that much talent like Team USA.
I agree. We've had one long point. Everything else has been pretty speedy thus far.
Gord Harrison with a pretty throw, except nobody was there to receive it. Goose Helton, the closest Team USA player, and Antoine Genet was a couple strides behind Helton. So Matsuka will pick up out there with Helton, Hatchett, Brower, Jarris, and McShane. Got to tell you, after broadcasting basketball for the last 4 months, the 5-on-5 is very natural for me.
It opens up a lot of space. You have kind of your point guards who are directing things, and then your big guns to get the job done.
Well, in contrast, 5-on-5 is not natural to any of these players on the field. As we've talked about the difference between grass and beach, all these players are used to 7-on-7.
Brower Jarris claims he was hit by Genet. What do you guys think? And he will retract the call.
You actually saw Jack Hatchett talking to his Ironside teammate, Brower Jarris, saying the disc was already over you by the time the contact happened. And that's a great thing about when you talk things over. You get a better perspective of what actually happened in the play.
It's a great result because it did look like there was contact, but Team USA quickly gets the disc back anyway. Brower Jarris with the disc don't lie mentality as he scoops it up. And Helton up line with incredible speed as USA breaks again.
What a throw by Brower Jarris. It almost looked like a no-look. He believed in his mind or used the force to sense that Helton was there. before he made that put.
Extraordinary vision.
I think he saw him over his right shoulder.
Maybe all he saw was the defender trailing. It doesn't matter. It was still impressive looking throw.
Now, Goose Helton, not a guy who was ever a big name in college ultimate, but a two-time most valuable player in the American Ultimate Disc League, first for the Indianapolis Alley Cats, and then for the Chicago Wildfire. Where does he stand today in the hierarchy of top ultimate players?
He's one of the very best, and he's in that group where you're looking at just out. We talked last game about Justin Ford and the top 10 best players in ultimate, and Goose falls right outside of that, where he still has time to make his mark. He's an incredible defender. He has great throws. It's hard sometimes because you look at him and he plays in some very good teams where he becomes a piece of the puzzle. A lot of these other guys have had their defining moment, and while Goose has had a great time in the AUDL, I still think he has yet to reach that defining ultimate community moment where everybody says, yes, he's one of the very best.
And to do that, he might need to will either the Wildfire or the Team Machine to a level which they have not experienced before, right?
Absolutely.
That's the next step.
Yeah, when you have those defining moments, it's kind of putting the team on your back and what we expect, but he's just such an unselfish teammate. It can be hard to figure out where it's a constant debate in the ultimate community of where does this player lie in terms of rankings. And you just know that he's very good.
It's a fun debate. Another mistake from Lugsden gives USA the disc near the goal line. Kinley will pick up, guarded by Trevor Henry. Mark Poole cuts up line. Nothing there. The desperation hammer is defended easily by Jeff Lindquist. Lindquist throwing from his knees. Oh, and a hard layout, but no foul call. We will have a stoppage, perhaps an injury here, as Kinley appears shaken up. Hopefully nothing more than a face full of sand. Not that I would wish that upon anyone. Part of the game for sure, though.
Well, it tastes worse when you come up empty, unfortunately, but it looks like he's glad that he's okay.
And Megan, what'd you say that hairstyle was?
I believe it's modeled after a Cupid doll.
Are you familiar with that
With a Cupid doll?
type of doll?
Yes, I believe they were big in the 50s.
Lugsden gets there.
Team USA kicking themselves, no doubt, for leaving such a big receiver all alone in the end zone.
Looked like Team USA could really put this away. Go up 10-6 instead, 9-7 perhaps. The door slightly ajar for Canada, but they are running out of time, about 10 minutes away from the soft cap.
You're right, they are running out of time, especially because they've had to labor for the last few points that we've seen. What started as pretty smooth offense for them has started to been besmirched by a few unforced errors, a few high passes or throws to no one there. If they can reel it in, this is still within their grasp.
Even if USA is able to come away with a victory here, which I would predict that they would, I see a lot of troubling signs that they need to correct, and I'm sure that they're going to go home and look at this film and say, offensively, we have a lot of chemistry issues to sort out. That last possession in the end zone should not result in the hammer at all. There was only one player moving. I'm sure they're going to go back and say, we need someone else creating some movement, trying to attack the space, and getting open for us.
Scuba handled with a left-handed catch from Wilson, and he was fouled immediately by John Russell. DiGirolamo Lets another deep shot fly, seeking Kolek. And Kolek got drilled from behind. Certainly contacted by Cam Burden. Kolek and Burden will discuss. Bleeding time away from the rest of this game.
This is such a great play leading up before we even get to the huck. Just great use of space by Team USA. Kolek was actually the original handler in the space before DiGirolamo came in. Kolek clears out of the space, leaves room for DiGirolamo to come in, throw the huck, and in this case, it looks like Kolek is just dragged down. I'm surprised that this is a discussion.
Yeah, as am I. I thought it was very clear that he still had a play on the disc before he was pulled down to the ground. But that's an excellent point, Brian, one that I think a lot of teams perhaps miss until too far into the tournament. Even if you have set handlers and cutters, you have to be willing to leave your role almost immediately. With only five people on the field, you have to be flexible about where you're willing to play. And sometimes the play that's going to make this all work is throwing the disc and then sprinting down the field.
No contest on the foul, and Kolek hits Inselman. Team USA leads 10-7.
Gerald Inselman is a name that not a lot of people in the Frisbee community may know, because just with the recent advent of media coming in the last 5 years, Inselman has been quietly one of the better cutters in the game, has a lot of endurance, great timing, great communication with his handlers. He played on Chain Lightning and also Ring of Fire in the past years, and there's no doubt in my mind that he deserves to be on this team. Such a wild, just a smart veteran cutter.
Playing for Ring and Chain is like playing for the Red Sox and the Yankees. Those two teams have a fierce rivalry with one another, much like Sockeye and Furious in the mid-2000s.
And that's a great point, and that's one of the reasons why I think Spirit of the Game works, is because you see those transfers between the teams that are rivals. You see transplants between New York City and Boston. You see transplants between Raleigh and Atlanta. Everybody knows each other from going to the same tournaments. There's a mutual starting respect. And that's why this sport can work at those levels, for the most part, without referees. When everybody knows each other, you don't want to be a jerk to each other.
Brett Matsuka, another former Ring of Fire player, pulls that one out of bounds. Ring of Fire, the longest running streak of consecutive trips to nationals of any North American squad. I think it's 23 straight years, 24 straight years maybe.
That's quite a feather in their cap.
And yet they're still seeking the Holy Grail semifinals 2 of the last 3 years.
Ring of Fire once got the title in one season for always being the bridesmaid. Back when sectionals was a requirement, they finished second at sectionals, second at regionals, and then second in the nation.
An amazing surge to always fall short. Callum McKenzie orchestrating the offense. Lindquist collided with Matsuka, but did not make a call. And perhaps a pick downfield to halt play briefly. You can tell the wind picking up, and now it's basically a north-south wind. Lindquist with the wind at his back. Canada, this is a downwind point all of a sudden.
Lindquist loves to spin around pivot, not something you see out of most players in the game.
Already 1 foot in the end zone, but he needs at least one more throw, and Antoine Genet earns some style points for that catch.
A little more passion from Canada in that point. Seemed like the shorter pull was just what they needed to remind themselves that they have the skills necessary to work it in.
So 10-8. Still a game to 13, although that could change over the next few minutes, depending on the length of these next couple of points. We have seen Great Britain and we have seen the Philippines, the other two of the top four with the USA and Canada. How would you compare the hierarchy of that top four right now, Brian?
I think you have to give the edge to USA overall with the talent level, but the Philippines and Great Britain seem the sharpest in terms of internal chemistry. And that might not make a huge difference if they match up with Team USA. It'd certainly be an advantage. Team USA's strength is going to be in their defensive play. They're going to be able to make every single team uncomfortable. So I put USA number one, and then I think Great Britain number two. Philippines and Canada, I like the Philippines right now. I think the Canadians could work things out by the end of the week and get to the podium as well.
Great Britain and the Philippines are actually playing right now. Kolek to the end zone. He got it! Somehow, some way, Alan Kolek hauls it in. Full extension horizontal for the Team USA score.
When you're a handler with all the creative throws and then you have the speed to chase down the disc like this, dangerous weapon on the field.
I spoke with Goose Helton before the game and just asked him, Goose, how are you going to win this game? And he said, we have an unstoppable offense. And I think it's the abilities of throwers and receivers like that that make him able to say such a thing with confidence.
So USA a comfortable 3-point cushion here. And Brett Matsuka once again will pull. I'm curious, and I think a lot of people are curious, where Brett is going to play club this fall. He's been something of a journeyman. He went to college in Australia, then did grad school at NC State, played for Ring, commuted, along with many other studs to play for Bravo, but he just took a job in the Kansas City area. Where does his ultimate path take him next, both in the professional level and the club level? We will see. One of the looming questions for the upcoming season. And he's certainly a factor. Where he lands, it could be a tipping point for some team.
Yeah, I'm sure there are teams that are quietly or behind closed doors considering courting him.
This is the time in the club season which each team is trying to find a way to see if they can get that commuter who's 3 or 4 hours away to come join them for the season.
Lindquist guarded by Broward Jarris. Matsuka took away the underneath for Tejpar, and now a circular route gives Tejpar the disc. Team USA still laying out aggressively. Lindquist, that is not going to work. A bold choice, a little too bold.
Yeah, I think that's a product of still not being quite comfortable on the kind of finesse you need to put on throws in the beach. I mean, he saw that Rumi was wide open. Didn't need to put quite that much spin on the disc. I think emotions got the best of him in that throw.
Broward Jarris lets it fly. This is going to float perfectly. Poole right to the back of the end zone with plenty of room to haul it in.
This United States team has done the best out of all the teams that I've seen so far, understanding where exactly the end of the end zone here is on the beach, and making sure they adjust their throws appropriately. You notice he had one step before he was out of bounds. It's all you need to make that score.
Majestic toss from Broward Jarris to Poole.
I think the selection committee for Team USA did an excellent job of fielding the squad. You have athletic guys who are going to get the Ds, who are going to be able to get your blocks. Goose Helton is going to be able to go out there and do that. DiGirolamo on offense is going to be that weapon that nobody really knows how to contain. But then you have guys like Tyler Kinley, Mark Poole, who are just so solid all around. And they just can make plays in any situation. whether it's going deep, whether it's going to get the D on the in cut. It doesn't matter. These guys are just glue guys. That's like how I like to refer to them. You can bring them in. They're the guys you always take in your team. You don't need to fill a specific position. Poole and Kinley are going to be on your team and your rosters for those reasons. Their smarts and their intelligence.
USA now 1 point away. Meanwhile, a few hucks down the way. Great Britain and the Philippines, 11-10 game to 12. Not sure who's up, but I know it's close and going down to the wire. And that battle to likely win that pool. Pool B, USA and Canada, the top two teams in Pool A. Trevor Henry lets it fly. And Team Canada able to connect with Cam Burden in the back of the end zone.
I was going to say, Evan, we might even be able to see down the entire coastline here and actually see what's going on. Not sure if we're able to get anything in focus. Might need some binoculars, but we've got a great vantage point here in Dubai.
Trevor Henry has earned himself the nickname of Gunslinger amongst his teammates for throws just like the one he put up. He has such a speedy flick from the hip. They thought of no better nickname than Gunslinger.
Very quick cutter for both Toronto Goat, Toronto Rush of the AUDL. This is a game to 13, and with USA receiving, it's a must break for Canada. We've had 5 or 6 different wind patterns just in the course of the last 45 minutes. It has mellowed once again. Toth getting ready to pull. Inselman on the O-line ready to receive out there with O'Brien, Marsh, DiGirolamo, and Wilson. DiGirolamo unstoppable when he makes a deep cut and comes in, because you have to respect the deep.
You can't guard him with just one person.
And Team USA has sent a message here on Tuesday afternoon in Dubai. The Americans remain the team to beat here at Beach Worlds, a 13-9 victory over their brothers from the north, Team Canada. The first blemish of the week for the Canadiens as they fall to 4-1 overall. Team USA has beaten France, the UAE, Australia, Kenya, and now Canada. This was the closest game for Team USA, but still, guys, a comfortable victory after being down a break early.
Comfortable victory for them, but if you're Team USA, you're going to come away knowing that there are a few points you left on the table as a result of some chemistry and miscommunication issues. Defense played well enough to win. Offense might need to be better when facing an opponent like Great Britain or the Philippines, who are coming on strong.
And of course, this is a matchup we might very well see again. Canada is not hanging their heads. They understand they've learned some very important lessons coming away from this, adjustments that are well within their reach, and they have the time to make them.
Final score again, USA 13, Canada 9. We'll be back on the air in just over an hour for a mixed division clash between Canada and Sweden. Team USA has long been the benchmark, both on the grass and on the beach. And while Canada proved a worthy adversary, the Americans, when it counted, made the plays to take care of business. The USA squad is 5-0 for our entire Dubai Sports and Sky Magazine crew. And for my broadcast partners, Brian Jones and Megan Tormey, this is Evan Leffler saying so long for now from the beaches in Dubai, where the Americans remain undefeated here at the World Beach Ultimate Championships in 2015.